when it comes to how this relates to you, the individual who's just training for general health and fitness, hopefully you have come back and you've looked at this video, so then it makes you start to tune in a little bit more when you hear the word athlete, rather than tune out and think, this isn't for me because I'm not an athlete. Because I'm here to tell you, you are an athlete of perhaps the most important game there is, and that's what's going on, party people and fitness friends. I'm back, Coach Jason, Black Iron Fitness Company, and I wanted to make this video because I'm laying out a series of educational videos that are going to be geared at helping you in understanding more about scientific principles of training, methods of doing that, so you can actually go ahead and take that content and that information and use it and apply it to your own training, whether it's you're somebody that I work with personally, or you just happen to follow the channel and you want to do it on your own. My goal is to get more good information out there amongst the sea of really confusing information, and do the best that I can to deliver what I feel confident is quality information that's kind of vetted by me, somebody who's been in this industry for nearly 3 decades. Today's video is going to be kind of prefacing all of that because I think it's an important place to start. Otherwise, you're probably not going to want to watch all the rest of the videos because of the one simple term that I use, and that is the term athlete. And when I say athlete, I'm referring to you, and I want to be clear about that. And you may say to yourself, but I just want to lose a few pounds, or I just want to age better or increase my health as it's compared to the CDC standards of having my blood pressure within reference range, making sure that my BMI is where it needs to be, making sure that I'm able to participate in physical tasks as I should as a human being, as it's kind of been defined for me. And the reason that that's important, that we're talking about you as an athlete, is because I don't want you to check out from all of the rest of my content, nor a lot of the other quality content providers out there that refer to their people that they coach or who they're working with as athletes. Because at the end of the day, you are an athlete, okay? So, to kind of like wrap that up, a lot of times, unfortunately, people refer to the word athlete, and the common person hears athlete and they think, oh, he must be talking about a competitive powerlifter. Or in the case of me, I've worked with endurance athletes. He must be speaking about endurance athletes, jiu-jitsu athletes, even back in my bodybuilding days, bodybuilding athletes. And while those people are actively participating in the pursuits of sport, the term athlete I like to kind of redefine, because the people that I'm dealing with are not necessarily just people that are participating in sport. So what do I mean by that? So yeah, the idea of participating in sport and being an athlete seem to be somewhat synonymous, but let's break down what that really means, right? So let's take any one of those pursuits. When we're talking about athletes, you're probably not going to be matched up with somebody in your exact same category. The likelihood of that is very little, actually. If you go to most local competitions, until you get to the state, regional, national level, in any one of those sports, the likelihood of somebody being in your same age bracket, your same gender, your same weight class is very minimal. So at the end of the day, what you're really doing is you're comparing yourself to yourself on a daily basis. And even at a local level, you're still probably competing against yourself and the state, regional, or national records, right? So when it comes to how this relates to you, the individual who's just training for general health and fitness, you are essentially an athlete of a very specific sport, which is aging. And in that context, you're comparing yourself against the population. But still, at the end of the day, you're really competing against yourself and how fit you were yesterday, or how fit or healthy you're going to be in the future. What's essentially being measured in that case is things like your BMI yesterday, your BMI last time you went to the doctor, your cholesterol levels last time you went to the doctor, your blood pressure, even to some degree on a day-to-day basis, how you function in the world that you interact with regard to strength and conditioning, right? So those are the things that are essentially being measured. And yes, they compare to the population, which is really important, right? Because that's where we get our standards for the recommendations that we make for people to maintain a healthy lifestyle when it comes to nutrition and exercise, and where they stand on that scale of health and fitness and what they need to do to improve it. But ultimately, you could find somebody who is your same age, is your same weight, is your same gender in the nation, and you're of course comparing yourself to that, but ultimately what matters with regard to your programming, and yes, you should be using programming, not just random exercise in most cases, and I'll make a case for that in a moment. What you're comparing is you yesterday to you tomorrow, right? Or today or tomorrow in the case of a progressive training program, right? So in that respect, you are an athlete. You're an athlete of the sport of aging. And you have a lot of similarities in regard to what you should be utilizing and why you should be utilizing the same things that athletes use for powerlifting, endurance sports, jiu-jitsu training, competitive bodybuilding, whatever it is, right? You need to be paying attention to turning the same dials, setting up programs in the same way where the specificity of the program is aimed at the desired result in terms of performance. Your area of performance is performing on those standards and those tests, your blood lipids, et cetera, right? Whereas a power lifter, what needs to be measured in terms of performance is their ability to perform the bench, deadlift, and the squat. A bodybuilder, their performance is measured by the way that they look on stage, their dryness, their body fat percentage, the way that they are balanced in terms of their physique, top to bottom, legs versus this, that, the other thing. Endurance athletes, they're being judged based on, let's say for example in the triathlon, their ability to swim, bike, and run, and put those three things together and move the fastest over distance with their given body weight, right? But with you as an athlete, you're not too dissimilar in terms of how a program would be set up to specifically target improvement in those areas. It's just what you're measuring and what you're then going to be programming is going to be a little different, right? And what I would say is that there is a way that you differ from these athletes, these type of athletes, is the fact that unlike those athletes, you don't have nearly the same luxury as a professional athlete does, and you don't have the same resources available. A lot of these athletes, their lifestyle is being offset. The cost of their lifestyle is being offset by their prowess in these endeavors and their ability to get money from prize money, sponsorships. They've dedicated their lives to this, so this is their primary source of income in many cases. And yes, I understand that there's a lot of top-level pros that also maintain, regular day jobs, but quite frankly, you're comparing two things where the criticality of their accuracy and the luxury that they have to kind of tinker is a little bit more than, say, you do. Because you, even though you're not a competitive athlete in any of those sports, you have a very finite amount of time and resources, so time, energy, money to put into training for health and fitness, right? So if you're training for health and fitness on a budget, maybe you only have 2 days a week to work out. Maybe you only have 3 days, an hour, or even a half an hour. Well, then my argument would be that the stuff that I'm going to be talking about in these upcoming videos is even more critical to you, because the time that you spend and invest and the resources that you put into your training, and I do say training, not just exercising, your training needs to be even more efficient, effective, accurate, right? You need to be able to yield more bang for your buck out of every minute that you invest into your training. Because let's face it, let's say that you're going to the gym just twice a week as recommended by the CDC, right? To do your muscle strengthening exercises. And then you're doing your walks on a regular basis. Well, you have to travel to the gym, right? So let's say it's 15 minutes travel if you're within what most people do. It takes you 10 to 15 minutes just to get into your car, then travel, get out of your car, get into the gym. It might take you 10 minutes to get to where you're going to actually be in your exercise class or working with the machines or dumbbells or whatever it is. Then you're going to do, let's say, a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes or an hour of workout. And then you've got to reverse that whole process to get home. Well, now you've spent, in essence, 3 hours. And you're going to do that twice a week. And I don't want to make this seem daunting, but let's say it's 2.5 to 3 hours a session that you're really taking to get this whole thing done out of your normal life. And you've only got 168 hours a week, and you're working 60, 80 hours a week. Plus you've got kids, you've got family, you've got social obligations, right? You don't have unlimited resources when it comes to that time, energy, right? You can only have so much energy when you do all those other things. You only have so much money that you can invest. Let's say you're doing this with a personal trainer or a coach. And I do make a very strong argument for delineating between the typical personal trainer and a qualified coach, but we'll get into that in a future episode. But you only have so much available. So your time has to be even better spent. And so everything that I'm going to be talking about with regard to setting up a proper program for somebody like yourself applies probably more to you, I would argue, in some cases, in some respects, than to the either recreational athlete who's really dedicated themselves to do this and spends, maybe a little bit more freely their amount of time and resources on training than the average individual just working on health. Or definitely more so than the professional athlete that really kind of does this either as a part-time job and they make a decent amount of money so they can also work another part-time job to finance their life, or even as a full-time job where they don't work at all, right? So to check out of any of this content when somebody says the word athlete is a huge, huge mistake. When I say the word athlete in any of my educational videos that will be coming after this, I'm talking about you. And as a matter of fact, don't mistake things. You are the avatar of the average client or athlete client that I train. I don't train high-level athletes, bodybuilders, powerlifters, endurance athletes. I have, right? I've worked with some relatively, decent competitors in different arenas. But the average individual that I work with is this person has a 50 to 60 hour a week job and a family to take care of. And at the end of the day, the reason that they've chosen to do this kind of stuff is because it most accurately or most efficiently gets them from point A to point B in a predictable manner with what they came to me with as a pain point, which is I'm not as healthy as I want to be. I'm not as strong as I want to be. I'm not as fit as I want to be. My body composition or my body appearance doesn't look like I'd like it to look. And I'm done screwing around going to places like Orange Theory and CrossFit and doing P90X and putting in all this energy and effort. And yeah, maybe making a little bit of progress, but not nearly as much as I know now that I could be making with every minute that I put into my training. So I would encourage you, when you hear somebody who's a qualified coach, and there's a few of them out there on the internet, talk about things, the minutia of programming principles. It doesn't matter whether you're working with them individually, like a lot of people work with me. It doesn't matter whether you're somebody who buys one of my custom templates or my pre-made templates, whether I build you a custom template, whether you're somebody who works with me remote coaching where I send you workouts based on a custom template, you execute those workouts, you video yourself doing them, you send me the videos and the results from your workouts, I look at them and give you my feedback and make program adjustments. It doesn't matter if you're somebody who works with me or a coach virtually where you have an iPad or an iPhone and a set of Bluetooth headphones and you go to either your local gym or your home gym and I log on from wherever I am and we conduct a session live from a program that I've built you, like it's in person and one-on-one. Or if you're somebody who actually comes here to my studio and we work in a one-on-one environment, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is that these details really do matter and you should be seeking out that type of precision when it comes to what you're choosing to do and how you're choosing to go about it. Your rest periods. When I talk about the dials, right, the dials that we would turn in programming, I'm going to go into deeper breakdown of these so that you understand how these concepts work, why you want to consider them, what they're going to be. But things like the exercise selection, rep schemes, and how many reps you're going to be doing per body part or per exercise. The rest periods between exercise, right? How long you should be resting between sets, right? Talking about obviously technique when it comes to exercise selection, but things like how many sets, how much training volume, training intensities, how much load and how much of your relative capability that you should be working on any given exercise rep or set. right? Even down to frequency. Certain body parts respond from greater frequency per week, 3 to 4 sessions per week for certain responses for some upper body parts. And that's individual. So even within individuals, that can be different. And within an individual, different body parts can respond differently to different frequencies. Squatting versus bench pressing versus, whatever it may be. If you're in the bodybuilding realm and we're talking about single joint movements, that still applies. Frequency, right? That's another dial that we might turn. Or formulation. What seems to be the best response when we put what combination of exercises together does it yield the best response, right? So it's really hard to just randomly go into a workout and have all of those things, all of those dials dialed to the max for you. If you walk into the local boot camp, CrossFit box, you might burn some calories, you might get some response, but the question you need to ask yourself is, for the limited amount of investment and resources that you have available to put into your training, when you step into those environments, are all of those dials turned up as much as they could be for you and therefore yielding you the greatest results for that investment, giving you the greatest bang for the buck? Or are they okay, but not nearly as efficient and not nearly as highly producing as they could be? And that would be a waste. So if you know a little bit about how to assess these things, you can make these decisions when choosing to go and participate in an activity. If you're hiring a personal trainer, they should know how to do this, but unfortunately, in most personal training environments, it's just not practical to do. And a lot of personal trainers, and I know from experience, having been in charge of a lot of personal trainers in the past, they're just not versed in this or don't have interest in it. They don't have the education, they don't have the experience. A qualified coach should be doing this for you. A good program should incorporate this stuff. And even if you're programming or you're using a template on your own, you should have some of this knowledge, at least on a base level for yourself, to implement in your programming and make decisions. So we're going to go into the details of this in the future videos, and I hope you stay tuned to those. And if you've already started to watch some of those, hopefully you have come back and you've looked at this video, so then it makes you start to tune in a little bit more when you hear the word athlete, rather than tune out and think, this isn't for me because I'm not an athlete. Because I'm here to tell you, you are an athlete of perhaps the most important game there is, and that's aging. I know that got a little bit ranty, but I hope you stayed for this entire video. And if you did, I hope you found some knowledge, learned something, and found some value in it. And if you did, I'm going to ask you again, please subscribe to my channel. Please like this video, push that little bell notification icon down there so that you get notified next time I release videos, and I'll be releasing a series of videos educationally free for you, just to put out the best quality content that I think that you deserve to have access to, and trying to do my best to break down a lot of the jargon and high-tech, kind of minutia that you probably, since you're not an expert in this, wouldn't understand, and put it in terms that are going to be relatable to you and kind of walk you through the process step by step. Also, one thing that I really, really hope that you'll do if you've watched this video, they are for free, so to speak, but I do ask that you pay the toll, and that is to share this video with just one person. Each time you watch a new video, share it with another person. Help me spread this information, because the more people that are sharing this, the more that my videos are going to be seen, and therefore the more it will be shown to people who aren't being shared this video or aren't looking at it directly. Anyway, I hope this helps. My name is Coach Jason. This has been Black Iron Fitness Company, talking about you, the athlete, and I'll catch you next time. Until then, keep training. Do me a favor, if you like this video, please share it.